RTE, if you want to get something on RTE, it's probably going to be quite difficult. RTE is seems like a very close,
Or Scott and Heron as well, possibly.
Yeah. They send Father Ted over to fucking England. They say, no, we're not touching that. I mean,
who was it? Someone actually told me, it might have been you.
They didn't go.
They didn't go, actually. They actually said,
but that's
you know what, they probably won't take it anyway.
And
Linehan said, looking back, they wouldn't have taken it.
They wouldn't have. No. What else did they do?
And it's so much better. If it had been on RTE, it would never have been the smash hit it was. Same with Ballykiss Angel. Because they got picked up by British TV, they were exported around the world.
Yeah.
I think RTE would have paid the extra money to try and get it on other channels. No.
Well, they do it for Love Hate, don't they? Love Hate's doing incredible all around.
Well, what else has happened before that, though? I mean, that's just very recent.
It's not a favourite of mine, but Mrs. Brown Boys is starting to be shown.
Oh, God.
That's BBC.
But that's BBC.
Is it?
Yeah.
Who would have thought that? 10 years ago, who would have thought that Mrs. Brown's Boy, Brendan O'Carroll would be the fucking BAFTA winning?
BAFTA winning?
Yeah, multiple BAFTA winning.
Oh, what's wrong with it? Is it because it's kind of like, that's the sort of shit the British used to laugh at in the 70s?
80s.
Oh my God.
It's not. It's cleverer than that.
Is it?
It's... I don't want to get in a position where I'm defending Mrs. Brown.
You've already been racist a bit.
Yeah.
Mrs. Brown's, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of odd, that kind of makes me laugh. They'll fluff their lines. And
I've heard that.
On the thing.
Yeah.
And you'll just have Carol going, well, that's not what I told you to say, and every claps is laughing. They go all run back out the door, and then they come back in from the last cue. And it goes again. And it's just
the fourth wall.
Real breaking of the fourth wall. And I thought there was a very... You didn't see the one where, I can't remember, some bad thing happens, and he's sort of sitting there in the kitchen. And it's all dressed as a cassette dressed as a kitchen. Yeah. And then the lighting goes down and leaves her in the dark, and it has that old sort of noir thing with the Venetian blind lines across. And then, just as you're sitting and they have this dark moment, Carol looks up over at the windows and goes, I have shagging curtains! It goes like that. Here's the thing.
It does do a good job of breaking the fourth wall. It makes it feel as if you're part of the audience watching a stage production, that it doesn't have the final gloss of a TV show.
Yes.
You know, it has that nice touch to it. And it loves taking the piss of the fact that it is a TV show. Like, there was one instance where someone has I think it's a phone box sitting on the table, and it's got the little black strips on it to, cover the brand name. You know, and they actually make a little bit. It's like, oh, well, what's with this? And he's just like, oh, that's just the design of the box. And she goes, that's bullshit. That's BBC's anti-brand name nonsense. And then the top of the lot, they go, but you and I both know it's an iPhone 5. You know, so it's still going break. You know.
But I mean, that's great. The thing about, here's the thing, right? If you look at the previous BBC stuff if you look at The Office, there was a serious vein of snobbery in The Office. The Office.
That guy was in a TA. He always called himself assistant to the regional manager and everything.
Yeah, but even when they go down when they go down into the warehouse, you have these sort of working class guys that don't get it.
Pricks. Yeah.
And it's just, at that time I was working on the roads. I was shoveling. I was labouring. I was like, well, Ricky, it's not that I don't get your fucking.
Were you singing the blues?
Oh no.
Oh, Georgia.
Listen, I just felt Mrs. Brown's Boys, for whatever else is wrong with it, has all the fucking elan of a working man's comedian throwing himself at the audience and wringing the last fucking drop of humour.
I think that's a double-edged sword, though. I mean, because the other side of that,
definitely, and I don't like it.
And maybe I don't know how you guys feel about it, but with Peter Kay's stand-up, I don't like it, because to me, like you're saying, working man's comedian. That's my problem. It's the sort of shit I could hear down the pub from just some guy. You know, it's like like the funny guy in a group.
Yeah.
In a group of the locals, and it's like great. I love hanging around. It was great, funny, but I want it to be a bit more than that when it's on stage. You know, I want something crafted a bit better than that. Something I can't get down the pub.
As I was saying, it's still better than Catherine Lynch and Savage Eye for me.
Oh, I like Savage Eye.
I hate it.
I like Savage Eye a lot.
Patchy for me, yeah. Patchy.
Just go back to In Bruges, like. As you're saying, what would make it was
what qualifies as an Irish film? Because like with the Commitments and the Snapper, as we were talking about, and the Van, even all English directors, all English funding, but it was Irish talent elsewhere. It was Irish writers. You know, Father Ted, quite rightly, I've seen it on lists of the top 100 British sitcoms, and it's like number 11. And there's a moment where I'm like, well, they did make it. They did make it. You know. So, and In Bruges is an interesting one. Can it count as an Irish movie? It's not set in Ireland.
It's not set in Ireland,
But
but
then
It's not a distinctly Irish flavour because it could just as easily be two English gangsters.
it could. But I think having the two Irish actors, you know, it gave
That tone, the accent.
the tone, the accent, and also probably the humour that they had with each other.
Yeah, it's something very Irish about it. Like when Gleeson is on the phone to Ralph Fiennes, he's like, "Is he enjoying Bruges? Is he bloody enjoying? It's a fucking lovely place." And Gleeson has to do like a quick backtrack. He's like, "Oh no, yeah, I mean, like he was miserable at first, like, but then you know once he saw like the old buildings of swans and you know the fairy tale thing, he's like, fuck, brilliant."
It's like a fairy tale.
It's like a fairy tale.
Even the going up the stairs to the top of the tower,
Yeah.
and Farrell goes, "I wouldn't go up there." Why not?
Like a bleeding elephant. Yeah.
And then Gleeson says the same thing on the way down, but he says it in a nice way.
It's a good film. It has McDonagh's voice, and that is this. I have problems with McDonagh's voice. McDonagh's voice is very cod Irish. I mean, it's a real.
In terms of how he writes dialogue, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not overly familiar with him. Like, he's done Seven Psychopaths now.
Yeah.
Well, was there anything
It's actually quite
his
funny.
adaptations in film before in Bruges?
I think that was his first film.
No, that
Because
was,
you told me something. Because I was talking about how I hate torture porn type stuff and needlessly cruel violence, which is like, I mean, in Bruges, Brendan Gleeson could have just fallen. Spoiler alert! Could have just fallen from the tower. We didn't have to see him as fucked up as he was, you know. But you told me something about McDonagh did a play where there's like chip pan oil poured on.
Oh, the Beauty Queen of Leanan.
I was sort of just sick and listening because I mean I got a strong stomach for stuff like that. I'm a horror movie fan, but it's just when it's stupidly cruel, kind of.
I can't recall, but don't we see, I can't remember his name now, the guy from Game of Thrones, we see his head explode when Ralph Fiennes shoots him.
Peter Dinklage.
Oh
Yeah.
God Almighty, man! That's not Peter Dinklage.
Sorry.
That's like oh they all look alike. God, you know, my brother did that. My brother goes, "Oh, you man from Game of Thrones? Sure, yeah, my wee daughter met him." What are you talking about? Oh, she met him. Sure, he's from Jackass, isn't he? and he's wee man, isn't he? And he was doing panto in Belfast, and we got to meet him. I was like, oh God, that's the midget equivalent of or dwarf equivalent of racism. Okay, now I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I can't decide what to call them.
That was
shall
an honest mistake. I
Person
did
of
think
short
it was
stature.
the same.
Person of short stature.
I haven't seen the film in a while now, but I thought it was Dinklage.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean it's like see the thing about McDonagh's language is why there aren't. Maybe Jordan is. There are Irish films that I really really like, but there is no real sort of culture of. There's no cinema culture in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's true.
Irish cinema will always be in trouble so long as Irish audiences aren't willing to support it. We have trouble seeing ourselves on screen in a cinematic way. It takes a big star. Like, see if you'd done The Guard without Brendan Gleeson as just any, like a real low budget movie. People wouldn't have gone to see it in this country.
Pretty much
Because they
it.
don't want to see themselves. It's like, oh, it's Irish? We can't take ourselves seriously cinematically. We see Irish people, we see something, a very Hollywood stakes sort of movie, like a car chase movie like Accelerator. I mean, like, oh, it's a car chase movie. Then we hear Irish accents come out of it, and we're like, what do you think? They think they're movie stars.
Accelerator was alright.
I really don't have much of an opinion on it at this stage. But in terms of, I would defend it because it's an Irish movie. You know what I mean?
Well, going back to the Irish one, like what makes an Irish one? What about Circle of Friends? I haven't seen it myself, but it's pretty much an entirely American casting. Irish accents.
Well, Minnie Driver does a decent Irish accent.
I
As
heard
well.
Alan Cummings
He's
is meant to
English.
do is probably the closest foreigner to get an Irish accent right.
He's Scottish, yeah. Although Scottish guys can do very good Irish accents
Unless you're
because
Jared
it's so
Butler.
close. Unless you're Jared Butler.